Ladies and gentlemen, Julie Sergopoulos.
Thank you.
Close my eyes and I can see a world that's waiting for me, that I call my own. Through the dark, through the door, through where no one's been before, and it feels like home. They can say how sounds always near. They can say about someone. I don't care if they come as near. We can live in a world that we design. 'Cause every night I lie in bed, colors fill my head, a million dreams are keeping me awake. Think of what the world could be, the one I see, a million dreams are keeping me awake. A million dreams for the world we're gonna make. There's a house we can build, every room inside is filled with things from far away. All the things I compile, each one there to make you smile on a rainy day. They could say how someone's they can say about someone. I don't care if they come as we can live in a world design. Every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my mind, a million dreams that keep me awake. What the world could be, vision of the one I see, a million dreams is all it's gonna take. A million dreams for the world we're gonna see. Let me be part of shared Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. That's a very powerful song from one of my favorite soundtracks. So thank you. Well done. We have Michael back for the second week in a row from traveling around, and I'm going to turn the time over to him. So, Michael Drew, come on down.
All right, so I gotta sit behind here. Beautiful music from my absolute favorite musical for the last, decade. So thank you for that. In fact, I think that's my favorite song for the last decade. All about dreaming, right? And controlling and creating what we want to create. So I'm Mike Drew, and I see a few of you that are new and a few that have been here for a while, and I want to welcome you out to our Profluent Manor. This is both our office and home. We are grateful for the opportunity to present to you today, and we're grateful that you've shared your time and evening with us, so thank you for coming out. Our objective here at Profluent Manor is to be able to help people find and share and amplify their voice. Right? We believe that everybody that's born on this planet is born with a purpose, and that purpose is in the service of our fellow man. Each one of you have a voice and an experience meant to support each other. And we are so incredibly grateful to be able to share this with you. Our objective, thank you, Sue, is to create a community. And that community isn't about me, it's not about Nathan, it's not about Bob or Stu or David McInnes last week or Chip or anyone else. It's about each and every one of you. And in building that community, our hope and objective is to be able to change industry and the world. Here at Profluent Manor and at our weekly events, our objective in helping people share their voice is to be able to walk you through not simply inspirational or aspirational ideas, but rather to give you practical application. And we know, and those of you that have attended these events so far know, that we look at things in three different areas. One is to know thyself. And when we teach knowing thyself, we teach what is your soul purpose, your S-O-U-L purpose. And how do you use that soul purpose in the service of your fellow man? And then we teach how to define what your guiding North Star values are, the values that you use to keep you in alignment with accomplishing that outcome of the soul purpose. And then we look at how do you define and measure success. So that's about knowing thyself. The next thing that we teach here at these events, each Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, depending on whether or not I'm in town or not, is knowing thy customer. And the last several weeks, we focused on that. When I was out of town in Europe a couple of weeks ago, which I was grateful to go on a tour for the Women of Global Change with Shelley Hunt and present our 12 Steps of Intimacy, we were able to learn from Nathan and Anthony Garcia about Myers-Briggs and temperaments and what we call buyer personas, so that we can understand thy customer. So know thyself, and then know thy customer. And in knowing your customer, we look at understanding them not only demographically, but more importantly, psychographically, so that we know what is the internal motivation of the individual, right? So we teach know thy customer through a process called persona architecture. And the third thing that we teach is a bridge between knowing thyself and knowing thy customer. And we do this through a process called the 12 Steps of Intimacy. And this is the psychological process that we go through when developing deep interpersonal relationships with another person. And it was initially developed by a gentleman by the name of Desmond Morris, and it was applied in terms of relationship and marriage counseling. And we apply it as it pertains to building a relationship with our customer. Today, I'm really grateful for the opportunity to take most of you for the first time through a process that we call the book outlining process. And I'm grateful for this because this goes back to my background, my history. You see, my background is in book publishing. Now, it's not what we do at Profluent Studios, but it is who I am and what my background is. I've successfully promoted 91 books to the Wall Street Journal, USA Today, and New York Times bestsellers list. And what I learned very early in my career, and this has translated in what we do with Know Thyself and Know Thy Customer and creating that bridge, is that a book is never about the book. An album or a song for Nathan is never about the song or the album, but rather it's about creating a connection with your customer or your audience. A book is one precipitory way of creating a connection between you and an audience, but it's not the only way. And so what we learned very quickly was to take the construct of a book and be able to turn that into a way of engaging with an audience or a customer. But at the core, a book is an amazing way to deepen relationship with an existing audience. And so what we're going to be talking about at the second half of tonight's event is how to be able to build a deep relationship with your customer through creating a very clear and detailed book outline. So I hope most of you brought a computer with you because it's going to be a very detailed process. If you did not bring a computer with you, please talk to Stu or Stu at the back of the room or Nathan at the break, and we've got pens and paper, and they'll be able to pass it out. It's going to be a little bit harder, but pen and paper will suffice. But I'm really grateful for, again, being here this evening with each and every one of you. I guess as a background, and I love having kids at the event. They're amazing, and they bring an amazing light. I wish and hope that each one of us can cherish the heart of a child, innocent and pure, and willing to believe in anything, and the willingness to do anything that their heart desires. Because truly, that's what we lose as adults. And part of what we'll go into in the second half of our process is to go back almost to a childlike attribute or mindset where we're able to eliminate our self-limiting beliefs and actually be able to create. So I'm really excited about that. But I think what's really important to each and every one of you here at the event, we're not just about inspiration and aspiration. We do that. We have amazing content that inspires and creates the willingness within each of you to want to go out and take action. But more than that, we want you to go out and take action. Part of the process of knowing yourself, we define how you define and measure success. And at Profluent, we define success and measure success by helping others influence the world. We know that organizationally, that in order to make a difference within the world, you need, or within an organization or a group, you simply need to influence and change the mindset of 3% of that group. Right? So our objective for each and every one of you is to be able to go into your industry, your business, your job, your church, whatever it is, your group, and simply change the action of 3% of that group or organization. Really and truly, that's all it takes. So for us, our objective is to have an influence on 3% of the world population. And we can't do that through our own action. We do that through working with each and every one of you. So our objective is to help you influence your audience, your group, your business, your industry, whatever it is, and enact 3% change. And we know the way that we measure this is by helping you get others to spend 99 cents or more on buying a training, a product, or service on what it is that you have to offer. And the reason that is a measurement tool for us is that we know that when someone takes out a credit card or takes out a bill out of their pocket and they pay it out, that they're investing in what it is that you're offering. And so that's how we define and measure success. And so one of the reasons, one of the values in going through the process this evening is to be able to help you create a program, a product, a service that you're able to offer to your audience and get them to exchange the currency of money, even at 99 cents or more, in exchange for the value of that content, if that makes sense. And so we're really excited to be able to bring this to you. As I said before, books are near and dear to my heart. I've started in publishing 20 years ago, this coming month, actually. Kind of fun. Started in Provo, Utah, at a company called Executive Excellence, which at the time was a division of the Covey Leadership Center before it merged with Franklin and became Franklin Covey. And within 3 months, I became the number 3 salesperson within the organization, which is only significant because the number 1, 2, and then 4 and 5 salespeople had been there for 5+ years and were simply renewing a subscription, an old subscription to the publication. So when I came in, I was actually generating new revenue for the company. And that was important simply because it put an impression upon a gentleman by the name of Ken Shelton, who is the editor of the magazine, Executive Excellence. And we were talking earlier about 7 Habits Bob. And Ken Shelton is one of the self-proclaimed ghostwriters of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Now, I can't prove that. I would have been, 7 or 8 when the book came out. But when the Covey Leadership Center merged with Franklin and became Franklin Covey, Ken was given the magazine, and the understanding and explanation was given that it was for payment for writing 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And when that occurred, because I was doing so well selling new subscriptions to the magazine, Ken came to me and said, "Hey, Mike, we publish all of these great authors in our magazines. Why don't we start publishing their books?" And as a young, naive 18-and-a-half-year-old, I'm like, yeah, that sounds like a really good idea. So we did. And I failed miserably for about a year. But I learned a lot. I learned everything I could about the publishing industry, and I made some fairly important impressions on some fairly powerful people in the publishing industry. Now, the most important person that I made an impression on was a woman by the name of Miriam Bass. And Miriam Bass was the sales rep for the publisher, for the distributor that my publisher distributed their books through. Now, in publishing, just as a set of context, because we are going through book outlining tonight, in publishing, the power brokers in the space are the retailers. They determine how many copies of a book they're going to carry on their shelf. So, to give you some illustration of this, last year there were 1,076,000 books published. The average retail bookstore carries 100,000 titles. Of those 100,000 titles, between 70 to 80% are what we call backlist titles, which are your perennials, your classics, and last year's bestsellers. So what this means is that if you want to put a book on the shelf, and the average bookstore carries 20 to 30,000 new titles each year, you have a very small chance of being able to have your book carried on the shelf. And there's some very specific criteria that go into that. A distributor's objective is to be able to differentiate the wheat from the chaff, the good books from the crap, right? Their objective is to filter out from hundreds or thousands of publishers books that belong on the shelf versus books that should not. Right? A New York publisher, by the way, the New York publishers, which represent 5 major publishers and 20 imprints, represent about 20,000 books published each year, and of the 20 to 30,000 books on the shelf, they represent 18 to 20,000 of those books, right? So about 80% of all of the books on the shelf, those 20 publishers put on the shelf. So if you want your book to be on retail shelves, if you're not with a major New York house, you go through a publisher that's distributed by a distributor, which represents hundreds or thousands of publishers that eliminate books that aren't likely to sell well to find those few books that sell well. And so our distributor for Executive Excellence was a distributor called NBN, or National Book Network. And NBN at the time distributed books for over 1,000 publishers. And you're dealing with close to 100,000 books that they had to pick between each and every year. And so not only did you have a distributor that were meant to filter out from hundreds of thousands of titles down to a few hundred titles each year, you had to have within that structure reps, sales reps that represented a dozen or more publishers with hundreds of titles that sales rep was intended to filter down into the few books that they would take to the sales reps, that the sales reps would then take to the retailers, Barnes & Noble at the time, Borders, Books A Million, Hudson's, and beyond. And so the intention of the distributor was to filter down into those few books. Now, the sales rep for Executive Excellence was a woman by the name of Miriam Bass. Now, Miriam Bass was important for a couple of reasons. One, not only was she the sales rep for Executive Excellence, but she was also a legend in book publishing at the time. You see, she was the first woman in the entire book industry who worked as a buyer for a bookstore chain, a bookstore chain out of California that was called Chapters, which is now a defunct retailer. And she was the buyer for the business division of that retailer. And so she broke that glass ceiling and made a big difference in the publishing industry. But when I met her, she was the sales rep for a dozen publishers at NBN. And when I worked for Executive Excellence, we failed miserably. I have to admit that. We failed. We didn't have any really big books. We worked with some really amazing authors, Ken Blanchard, Stephen R. Covey, Kevin Cashman, Warren Bennis, and we simply failed. I was, 18 and a half to 19 and a half, didn't really know what I was doing, really figuring it out. And I was grateful for that opportunity because I was able to impress Miriam. And by impressing Miriam, she then had an opportunity from a publisher out of Austin, Texas called Bard Press. And Ray Bard, the owner and publisher for Bard Press, had come off of this huge success for a book titled Nuts, Southwest Airlines' Crazy Recipe for Success, which was a huge book back in 97 and 98. And he had this huge success, and he went to Miriam, who was his sales rep, and said, "Hey, Miriam, I'm looking for someone to come in and manage marketing and PR." And she said, "Yeah, there's this 19-year-old kid out of Provo, Utah, who's impressed us and has done some pretty amazing work. You might consider him." And so Ray interviewed me and hired me. And the first day on the job, Ray said to me, "Michael, we publish business authors, and what our authors want more than anything else in the world is to be a New York Times bestselling author." And I said, "Okay, cool. We can do that. I'm, 19 and a half. I don't know any better. I don't know to say no or to say that's not possible or to not ask questions." And so, and by the way, I do want to thank Scott at San Diablo. He's supplying some amazing sweet confections this evening. If you'd like to bring them up, I'd love to show our viewing audience. Yeah. Show us what you've got. All right. Oh, my.
You need one of these in your life?
I do.
So we make our churros fresh from scratch.
Fantastic.
And then we fill them with happiness.
Oh, my.
And we've got a dulce de leche, coconut cream, sweet cream, lemon curd we make from scratch, and strawberry.
Lemon curd, please.
Yeah?
Oh, yes.
Okay, it's that one right there in the middle. In the middle. Yep.
Oh, my. Lemon curd.
Close up.
Oh, my. If you have more lemon curd, these are amazing. Yeah. So I want to thank Scott and San Diablo this evening for sponsorship. Amazing food, amazing dessert. For those of you that are here, serving it all evening and on the break.
Yeah.
For those of you not here, come out. Yes, sir.
If you could present,
Oh, yeah.
that would be awesome.
I'd be happy to let Scott present about his churros and whatever else he wants to talk about.
Sure.
This is pretty amazing.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, yeah, no,
Keep
no,
going,
please.
keep going.
One of the great things about these events is that this is a community-driven event. So, yes, Nathan or Bob or I present. It's Mark. Really amazing.
Scott for president, 2020.
Yes, please. I would vote for Scott for president. Is that this is a community-driven event. And so Scott volunteered to bring the churros out to this event. It wasn't asked for. It wasn't required. Rather, he volunteered, just like Julie volunteered to sing this evening. So one of the things that we want to invite each of you and those viewers that are watching is to come and participate in these events, not only to learn, but also to help find and amplify your own voice. Whether it's singing, whether it's writing a book, whether it's speaking, whether it's inspiring, whether it's making and selling churros. Right? Voice is about the concept of taking what's powerful within your heart and your soul that will impress upon, change, influence, or delight others, and to share that with others. So even within the construct of a churro, it's an amazing way to share voice, to share heart, to share soul. So going back to my experience, Miriam recommended me to Ray. Ray hired me, and the first day on the job he said, "Michael, we publish business authors. What our authors want more than anything else in the world is to be a New York Times bestselling author." And again, as a young, naive 19-and-a-half-year-old, I'm like, yeah, let's go ahead and do that. And I did. And it's funny because at 19 and a half, you don't know enough to know that you shouldn't do things. And I think we talked about kids and children earlier. The reality is that I would rather have the naive belief that I can do everything or anything I want than the self-limiting beliefs that I can only do what I'm good at or this thing or that thing. Because if I had the belief at 19 and a half that being a New York Times bestseller is difficult and hard and you can't do it and there's all these limiting things that keep you from doing it, I wouldn't have been able to build not only the business that we have today, but build an industry. I have created in-book marketing and book PR, an industry that did not exist before. I'm not saying that to be braggadocious, but rather to express I didn't have a self-limiting belief that kept me from doing that thing, right? And so Ray gave me that admonition to do it, and so I did. And the first author I worked on for Roy was a gentleman by the name of Roy H. Williams. He's known as the Wizard of Ads. And he owns the 4th largest ad agency in North America for buying radio. And he's a legend in marketing and PR. And for those of you that are here or those of you that are watching, if you ever have the opportunity to read the Wizard of Ads trilogy, Wizard of Ads, Secret Formulas of the Wizard of Ads, or Magical Worlds of the Wizard of Ads, I highly advocate that. Or if you're ever in Austin or desire to go to Austin, Texas, I highly advocate and recommend that you attend a course at the Wizard Academy. Now, I want to point out that I worked with Ray back in 98, 99 and Roy Williams before Harry Potter was released. So the idea, the concept of wizards was not something that was prevalent outside some fantasy or science fiction, right? You could certainly look at Halloween or some other fantasy to find the constructs of wizards and warlocks and all of those things and witches, but it didn't really exist in the popular lexicon in the same way that it does today. So when we branded Roy as the Wizard of Ads, as in advertising, we were kind of playing off the Wizard of Oz a little bit, and we were also playing off of an interesting construct on the history of the word wizard. Roy's a strong evangelical Christian, and a lot of people in the South and in Texas specifically look at the Wizard Academy and say, oh, that's evil or it's bad because of the concept or construct of wizard. And they think that's satanic or not Christian. But interestingly enough, the term wizard actually comes from the Bible. And in the original translation of the English version of the Bible, wizard is what we referred to as those men who brought myrrh, frankincense, and gold to the baby Jesus. The term wizard actually meant wise man. And later in our own history, we replaced the term wizard for wise man, the definition of the term, because of other unfair or otherly defined reasonings behind the wizard being a bad term. But in reality, it actually meant wise man. Anyway, so the first book I worked on was for Roy Williams. It was titled Secret Formulas of the Wizard of Ads. And what we did is we leveraged Roy's existing platform. Now, as the owner of the 4th largest ad agency in North America for buying radio, what we did is we leveraged his existing name and reputation within that space. And what we did is we went out to those potential customers that were most likely and desiring of his content. So we went out to the general manager of every radio station in North America. And what we did is we said, this is back in 99, by the way, if you buy 20 copies of his book and you run 200 radio ads promoting the book, we'll give you a copy of Roy's 12-tape training library on VHS, because this is 99, for free, right? And so we had over 750 radio stations nationwide participate in the promotion. We launched the book to #1 on the Wall Street Journal and #3 on the New York Times. That was my first of now 91 consecutive Wall Street Journal, USA Today, and New York Times bestsellers. And what I very quickly learned from that promotion and subsequent promotions was that the book that we were promoting, whether it be Roy's or Ivan Meisner's or others, was a tool, a mechanism to be able to promote a bigger construct. So a book is an amazing tool to be able to help break through that proverbial glass ceiling, to be able to take your business to the next level. It was also an amazing way to deepen a relationship with your existing customers. And so from there, and from that construct, what we were able to do was build out a business model understanding the position of what a book could do in the growth of a platform. Now, what we teach here at Profluent, in Profluent Studios, is how to build a platform, an influencer and a thought leadership platform. And a book is one way of doing that. Another way of doing that would be to do a podcast, or to have your own digital TV show, or to be able to build an online program. There are many different ways to build and engage a customer. Later this year, we're going to be launching a speakers agency, speakers bureau, right? There are different ways of building a virtual and a in-person platform. But today, what we're going to be talking about is the ability to use a book. Now, one of the fun things that we're going to suggest to you at the end of this evening is how to use your book in an efficient way to not only create a product that you sell, but be able to create the construct for the engagement with your customer. When building a platform, we view building platforms in 3 different levels. 1, traffic. How are you generating interest into what you're doing? 2, engagement. How are you engaging an audience? And 3, conversion. Right? Conversion is the process of getting someone to take the action that they'd previously determined they wanted to take. Right? Just as a clear definition, selling is convincing someone to take an action that they hadn't previously determined they wanted to take. Conversion, on the other hand, is getting someone to take the action that they had already defined they wanted to take, but taking that action with you. Does that make sense to everybody? And so what we look at in building the platform is how do we efficiently create content in a construct that allows us to generate traffic, create engagement, and give a program, product, or service that allows us to convert that potential customer into an actual customer, someone that we have a relationship with. And our objective, and we'll get deeper into this in the second half of today's presentation, is how to take the book outline, chunk it down into bite-sized pieces, create it in a medium that allows you to turn that book into videos, podcasts, blog posts, and social media posts, and a book all at the same time. I want to be really clear about that. What we're going to be covering today is how to create content in a video format that we convert into an audio format, that we convert into a blog post, that we convert into a social media post, all while creating a book at the same time. Now, today's presentation, and unfortunately for those of you that aren't here, you're going to miss in the second half of what we're doing the system that we're using. But what we're going to do is create a complete, detailed book outline. We're going to overcome the self-limiting belief that you have that you can't create a book. And we're going to create the beginning of a book outline. And next week, Bob Cattell's going to come back, and he's going to present the second part of his presentation that he did 2 weeks ago, which was amazing. And then he and Nathan are going to take the outline that we create tonight, and they're going to flesh it out in such a deep way that there will be zero question how to take that outline and create 64 videos, 64 podcasts, 64 blog posts, 128 social media posts, and 64 memes, all within the same action. So before we go to break, and I'm really excited about doing the outlining process with you all tonight, I'm going to let Scott come up. I know he's working on some desserts back there, but I'm going to let him come up and quickly talk about what he's doing and a little bit about his background, and leave us with some inspirational thoughts, and we'll go to break, and we'll come back, and we'll get to work. I see that he's very quickly adding some flavor to an amazing churro. If I'm saying that right?
You like Nutella?
Oh, I love Nutella. Oh, my. That's evil. All right.
That's the Diablo.
Diablo. That's fantastic. Yes.
There we go. Yeah. So, when I was coming up with the name, We were going down the path of they're sent from
I'm going to
heaven.
help
They're
you in this.
and so that's the holy, the sand. And then I was going down the path of, but they're so bad for you and they're so wicked and tempting, and that's where the Diablo came in, and then I just smashed them together. So, yeah, we're at San Diablo. We make fresh-filled churros from scratch, and we make them fresh on demand. Our dough is all handmade, and then we coat it in freshly ground cinnamon, sugar, and fill them with happiness. We always have the traditional filling flavors: dulce de leche, Nutella, sweet cream. I got the inspiration when I was living in Mexico City. That's how they do their churros down there, and in much of Latin America. So, fun fact for you: the churro gets its name from the shepherds in Spain were the first to make the churro pastry. And they thought that when it came out that the shape of the pastry looked like the horns on the churro breed of sheep. And so they called it a churro. Yeah. So, and then when eventually it got to Latin America, they started making them thicker and filling them with all sorts of amazing things. We cycle through seasonal filling flavors. Right now we have our summer flavors. We've got coconut cream, strawberry, lemon curd. We also have a pina colada, a s'mores. We'll put anything in a churro. So in the fall we've got pumpkin cheesecake and caramel apple. So anyway.
You should do a video on will it churro.
Yeah, exactly. Make it a verb. Yeah.
Will it churro.
Yeah. There you go.
Oh my.
So our pastry chef is amazing. She was formerly a VP at Goldman Sachs who quit her job to pursue her passion of baking. And she we were recently awarded the best pastry in Utah.
She went from Goldman Sachs to baking.
That's right.
Wow.
I know, yeah.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah, she's awesome. Mindy Booth.
Minnie Booth.
Yeah.
She should do a YouTube show on will it churro.
Will it churro.
Especially since you're filling it, right?
Yeah.
So go, mayonnaise. No, seriously, add
Yeah.
different things. Add different things and see will it churro.
Well,
And
we
I
do.
bet you savory
We do
enough.
savory churros. So we've done pulled pork with either a barbecue sauce or cheddar on top. Brisket. We've done a mashup with all sorts of sausages and
Peanut
cheeses
butter
and
and
yeah.
cheeses.
Oh yeah, for sure. So
Like Gouda?
I don't know if we've done Gouda. Gouda's one of my favorites, but I don't know if we've done Gouda in a churro yet.
Will
The
it
dough
churro.
the dough itself doesn't have will it churro.
Will it churro.
We did. We've done. We're gonna try for the fall. We're gonna introduce a black churro with activated charcoal in the dough. Yeah, so that'll be fun. We'll do it. Fill it with cream cheese for the Halloween time.
Cream
So
cheese. Fantastic.
pumpkin cheesecake we do. Yeah. We do a gingerbread cookie butter for the holidays. Yeah. We also do a peppermint cream where we crush candy canes, put it on the outside. So anyway.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so we've been in business for about 2 years. We do catering and special events, and we just launched a food truck. You guys are all invited to our big launch party on August 2nd. We're going to be in Draper, free churros and ice cream for about 3 hours.
So 2 questions.
Yeah.
My followers are exclusively outside of Utah.
Yeah.
So can they order it online? Where do they order it from?
Okay, so you can contact us online, and we will come to you. We bring the party. So tomorrow I'm going to Vegas to we're catering a launch party down there. We've done the Lewis House Summit of Greatness in Columbus, Ohio. We've been at Peter Thiel's house a couple times in San Francisco, and we've done a couple parties in LA. So we'll go anywhere.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what is the backstory behind San Diablo?
Sure. So San Diablo, you know how when you're traveling internationally, you find food or find something that's amazing, and you're just like, why can't we eat like that, or why can't we have that back home? So that happened to me about 20 years ago, plus years ago. I had my first fresh-filled churro in Mexico City. I thought this would be irresponsible not to bring this to America. So it was one of those ideas that stuck in the back of my head for years. And I've been involved in a bunch of other industries, entrepreneurial ventures always, and it was just the right time and place to bring it to pass about 2 years ago, all with the idea of I have a background in, and my big passion is inspiring leaders, CEOs that really want to make a difference to create an exceptional and extraordinary customer and brand experience. And so that's really where I've cut my teeth through in the luxury airline business, and then in skilled nursing, in the nursing home business. And so I wanted to branch into a different vertical and show people the power and potential of exceptional customer experience to make an impact and to help you thrive. And so this was really a showcase for that. And ultimately, I'm looking to write a book, which is why I'm super interested in the content that we're sharing today, called "The Search for the Perfect Taco." In the whole Mexican food genre and theme, I want to die with a taco al pastor from Mexico City in my mouth, and so I love it. I've been on this search my whole life, had tens of thousands of tacos, lead taco tours to Mexico City. For about 20 years, I've taken a lot of people there, and I would love to take you guys. Everyone needs to go because it's the best food that you'll ever eat.
So churro taco.
Churros and tacos, but tacos, I want to use...
Can you combine them?
Churro I see what you're saying. Sure, yeah, why not? Actually, when we do, sometimes when we've done the pulled pork, we kind of open it up and make a little like mini churro taco and do cheese and sauce and stuff. Yeah,
Churro taco.
Totally. The mashup.
Now it's a meal.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
All right.
So, and when you guys come to our launch party, we're going to be introducing maybe the world's first, I don't know, the world premiere of the churro fried banana split. Woo. And so we're going to coat both pieces of the banana in churro dough, cinnamon sugar, obviously, and then 3 scoops of ice cream. Yes. At the Honeybee Produce Company. It's off of 123rd South and Highland. Yeah. And
when is that?
That is August 2nd from 6 to 9 p.m. I'll send all of you guys an invite and send you the info. But yeah.
And we'll post this on the ProFluent page on Facebook and beyond, and let all of you here know and everyone online know.
Great, we're ready. Well,
that's right.
Bob, on August 1st, is going to be talking about connection, overcoming addiction through connection. So nothing better than a compliment than connecting.
Than creating.
I thought you were going to talk about addiction through. Yeah.
You know. So what I know about most addicts is that you've got to replace one addiction with another. So if you have an addiction, replace it with his churros.
Totally.
Because they are amazing.
Oh, you're nice. Thank you.
You heard it here first.
Heard it here first. Churros over other addictions. Okay.
There you go. Replacement.
Yes, churros are filled with happiness. It's simply which flavor of happiness do you want?
That's exactly what we say. We like to say they're deep fried happiness. So our goal is to create the best food experience and help people feel the joy of food. And it's a joyful experience. I love it. So it's fun.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much, you guys. We have more. We'll have them all night. So come and try all the flavors.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
San Diego, guys. All right. Yeah, challenge accepted, exactly. All right. So we're going to break online, and we're going to give everybody 10 minutes to eat some San Diablo churros. I suggest trying all of them if they're available. We'll come back. Be prepared to work. We got a lot of fun things to do in about an hour. All right. Got a 10-minute break.